colleague Michelangelo Signorile, who is does his show right after mine, right here on Sirius XM Progress, channel 127. He's on the air from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The Michelangelo Signorile Show, and also you can read his work. One of my favorite newsletters that I subscribe to on Substack is the Signorile Report, because Michelangelo does such a great job of just grabbing the top, the hottest issues out there and boiling them down to rational arguments and insights that, they're well worth your time, and it's free. So, just get over there to Substack.com and plug it in. It's or Signorile.com, Signorile.com, or Signorile, right? Michelangelo, tell me which one it is.
No, Signorile.com or Signorile.substack.com. I did what you did, and there's no Substack needed, so they could just go to Signorile.com. And thank you for those generous words, Tom, and thank you for having me today.
My pleasure, and my apologies for putting a hard G in your last name.
Oh, it's totally fine.
So the piece that you published today, or in the last 24 hours, I believe, is welfare states declare war on donor states, but they have no money. I thought this was absolutely fascinating. You're talking about Greg Abbott trying to start a new civil war, and that's a whole topic in and of itself I'd love to get your thoughts on. But then we need to stop calling these states like the old Confederacy or the red states or whatever, and start calling them what they really are, and that is welfare states, right?
Socialist welfare states.
There you go.
I like throwing in the word socialist too, because, they rail against socialism, these Republican governors, and that's what they're into, federal money, getting money from the federal government, and they pay out less than they take in. So I have to first give enormous accolades to one of my readers, Jan Pfuhl, who has been obtaining all this data and putting it in the comments in my newsletter for months and months and months on every topic. He would look through the lens of the welfare states and the donor states and everything that was going on. And it was just at this time when we see what Greg Abbott is doing that I said, they're now stoking a civil war. Let's see how that would play out, who would be part of it. And it turns out that they're flat broke. They have no money. They are Texas, Florida, the 25 states that have joined Texas in this Civil War talk, all take money from the federal government that is far greater than the money they put in. Texas and Florida used to be donor states. Back in 2005, there were 19 donor states, and there are now just a handful. In 2019, there were just a handful, and Florida and Texas fell into the welfare states. And this is as they're, of course, railing against socialism. And here they are saying, Ron DeSantis is saying every state should be like Florida. Well, yeah, if you have New York and California and Massachusetts to back you up.
Right, paying your bills essentially.
Right.
It really is pretty amazing. And one thing I don't understand is why. And I've written about this and ranted about this in the past. I know you have too, Michelangelo. Why is it that the Democratic Party doesn't make better use of this? I guess it's probably because there are some blue welfare states, as it were, as well.
That's right.
Probably New Mexico at the top of that list.
New Mexico, Maryland, a lot of blue states, to be fair. But also, to be fair, their governors are not calling for civil war and attacking socialism and attacking social programs. Their governors want social programs, right? And we want to help all of those people. We are a united nation, and we want to help all those people. And we also want to, obviously, stand with all of the people in those states like Texas and Florida who don't agree with those particular programs. And I suppose maybe Democrats don't want to demonize the word welfare. That's why I thought using the word socialist as well is a good way to take that word back from their using it in such a pejorative way, because Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott rail against socialism, but they need these government programs now more than any state. And what's even more outrageous is Texas is the number 2 economy of the states. California is number 1. It is a donor state. Texas is number 2. New York is number 3, excuse me. And then Florida is number 4. So Texas and Florida are actually 2 of the top economies, and yet they're just completely on the dole of the federal government. The money they're making with their huge economies is going to a lot of rich people in those states, but it's not going to the people of those states, and then they're taking federal money.
Right, and not to mention, the military bases and NASA and everything else. It really is it's an amazing grift that these guys have pulled off. I noticed today that your most recent post is titled "Trump Won't Let the GOP Win Even When They're Handed a Gift-Wrapped Victory." I'm over looking at the Signorile report, signorile.com. This is pretty breathtaking, isn't it? That no, we won't give you aid to Ukraine unless you give us exactly what we want on the border. Okay, here's what you want on the border. Well, no, we're still not going to do it. What say you?
Extraordinary, really, because Democrats obviously want to get this money to Ukraine. The White House wants to get the money to Ukraine. Immigration activists were really worried they were going to give away way too much in their desire to get that money to Ukraine. And according to the bill, they did. I mean, there's a lot of ugly stuff in that bill, but it won't even be debated on to take stuff out or put other stuff in, because Donald Trump said, no, I want to use this for my campaign. I don't want a border bill. And it's really putting these Republicans in a terrible place, because now not only will they not get the best deal they would ever have imagined, right, their wish list, but now they go into the election with Joe Biden and the Democrats able to use this against them and say, look, we wanted to do something on the border and they refused to because Donald Trump told them not to.
Right. Biden needs to be on the border this afternoon. I mean, he needs to fly down there, with a couple of dozen Democrats from the House and Senate and do a press availability and say, here we are and we're ready and, give it to me and I'll sign it. And but to what extent, I'm of the opinion, Mike, I'm of the opinion that the largest factor here is not the border. That Trump saying that he wants to run on it, we all know he's going to run on it no matter what. But I think the largest factor here is that Vladimir Putin told Donald Trump no more money to Ukraine, and Donald Trump has told the GOP no more money to Ukraine. We're all in on Putin because we're trying to reinvent America into a neo-fascist strongman state, the same way Orban has used Putin as his role model and reinventing Hungary. And you got, Orban coming over here and speaking to Republicans at CPAC and telling them you should do it the way we do it. And you've got Tucker Carlson now in Moscow right this moment. I mean, there's a heavy effort on the fascist right in America to turn America into Russia. And I think that's the biggest piece of this. What are your thoughts?
I think you've really hit on something, and it's very astute. And in a lot of this discussion, the Ukraine money has almost been forgotten, which is the basis. That was the whole reason for this bill. I mean, they have been holding up the Ukraine money for months. And of course, Donald Trump does not want Ukraine getting that money. Putin doesn't want Ukraine getting that money. And there have been recent reports. I think the Washington Post had some communications from inside the Kremlin where they were talking about how good they felt about isolating the United States and how the Republican Party was actually helping them in not getting this money to Ukraine. I think that is the clearest evidence of exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. It certainly appears to me that this, sadly, this assault on democracy, that this is all part of a larger, essentially an assault on democracy that the GOP has bought into. And frankly, I think has been buying into for quite a number of years. You need to check it out. You get over to signorile.com, Signorile.com. Michelangelo Signorile is the website, and for his newsletter, it's free. You can sign up for it, the Signorile Report. Michelangelo, thanks so much for dropping by. It's always great talking with you.
Always great to be on the program, and just love all the work you do, Tom. Thanks so much.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Thank you, Michelangelo. Great talking with you. We'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls in just a moment. Stay tuned.